It's like a rite of passage for every boy to get into a fight at school. Having a really big imagination and playing a lot of video games doesn't necessarily make that any easier.
If you thought crazy stuff only happened to me when my family was around, you'd be sorely mistaken. I've always been a magnet for crazy, especially during the school years.
In the school district I grew up in, you could probably count the white people on like one hand, like going through most of school. So like I didn't fit in as like the lanky white guy. Like I mean I pretty much walk in between any clique at school. Like I fit in, but I didn't think like everyone else. And I didn't realize that like me being raised differently than everyone else would give me a different worldview. This one time, okay, you know how I wear sweatpants a lot? Uh, I also like I don't care. I honestly don't care like about my wardrobe. Like I have drawers and drawers full of shirts. I probably bought in my entire life maybe like 10 articles of clothing. Everything else was given to me. So like I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I never dressed cool like the other kids. I've never been fashionable. This one time I remember I came into school and one of the like the groups was there and they walked up to me and they were like they were cool kids and they walked up to me and they were like, damn, but why are your pants so tight? And like they weren't actually tight, they were comfortable, maybe a little old, but they weren't like, I wasn't like choking my balls to death. They weren't like really tight jeans or anything like that. They were just normal and it was comfortable, like it didn't bother me. And I remember I just looked at them and I went, because I'm white. Like I don't, the fashion that you think is fashionable is not the fashion that I think is fashionable, nor do I care about fashion in that sense. And just the looks on their faces, just the looks on their faces were like, whoa, he doesn't see the world like us. And that in turn made me also be like, whoa, I don't see the world like them. It's so, it was such like it's such a moment of epiphany and just whoa, people are different. One time I got into an argument with this girl and in gym class, she left, she went to the locker room, she came back with a seatbelt that she had ripped off the bus for some strange reason. I don't know why she had a seatbelt, whatever. And she started whipping me with it. And being that I was always taught not to hit girls, not that I haven't hit, well, I probably refrained from actually like angrily hitting a girl in my life, but I try not to hit them at all. My reaction at first was, oh, I'll just grab the belt, it's fine, the seat belt. I'll pull her in and I'll beat the shit out of her. And then I was like, no, she's a girl. I'll just sit there and take it. And I didn't retaliate. I just let her have her fun. And then I started to move out of the way after a while because it was annoying. I think I got her suspended for that. I'm not entirely sure. Probably not, because people have done way worse things at my high school, and we're frequently on the news. My high school is frequently on the news. My second high school, let me clarify. Magnet school, not so much. My second high school is frequently on the news for people getting beat up or stabbed or shot or what have you. So, yeah. I think the year I got to college, some kids got arrested because they brought an underclassman. My second high school was also my middle school. It's 6 grades. It goes from 7th to 12th. Apparently, a middle schooler was hitting on some high schooler's girlfriend, and they they coaxed him into the auditorium, and like 12 of them beat him up on the stage, and they broke his leg in like 3 places because they were stomping on him. Like, my school's not exactly the safest environment. Now, that being said, that I went to magnet school for the first 2 years of college, 9th and 10th grade. When I got to magnet school, I remember we had a kid who had transferred into our school district, and he became a really good friend of mine. But we only became friends when we went to magnet. He came in during middle school, so when we got to magnet, we became good friends. And I remember we had this meeting one time where our parents came in, and I was one of the kids getting awards. I guess it was for honors or something. I don't know. And my friend was sitting next to me, and my mom and I think his dad was there. And he turns to me and he goes, you know, I never wanted to meet you. And I was like, what? I never wanted to meet you because the first time I ever saw you, it was lunchtime. You were outside and you were rolling down the hill behind the gym punching some kid in the face. And I was like, holy shit, that kid's scary. And I was like, dude, my mom's right there. Shh. But that's cool though. I like that somebody thought I was scary. That's nice. That's a nice feeling. For me being intimidating. That's kind of a nice feeling. But yet I don't always react violently to things. Like, as you guys know, and I've talked about it in a couple other videos, but I've got dermatillomania, so let me get real close to the camera so you can see it. Like, the skin is a different color because I peel it off. That's totally another story for another day. But I had this thing where I'd tell my friends when I was younger, I'd be like, hey, if you see me peeling the skin off my fingers, stop me. Say something about it. Get me to stop. Because usually I'm in my own little world while I'm tearing the skin off my hand. It's a lot worse when I was little. It's gotten better. I had an episode a couple days ago where I was just like furiously ripping the skin off my finger. But before that, I had a pretty good swath of time where I wasn't really doing that. I don't always react violently. I'm not that violent. I told my friend, I was like, you know, if you see me doing it, kick me or whatever. I don't care. Whatever, it's fine. And I remember we're sitting in art class. We hated art class. We hated the art teacher. The art teacher and the music teacher, huge bitches to me and my friends in my middle school and high school. And so we're sitting in art class. We're doing our whatever. I start picking the skin off my finger. And my friend is sitting next to me. And like, he hasn't stopped me at all for months. Like, I had assumed he forgot about it. And he kicked me. And it wasn't like, I was expecting when I said you can kick me to be like a and like a love tap. But he like wound up for it and kicked me in the shin as hard as humanly possible. And I was like, ah, why? And yet I didn't get kicked out that day. My same friend, I didn't even punch him or anything. My same friend that had kicked me in the shin at full force because I was peeling the skin off my fingers had got kicked out of art class one time before for sneezing too loudly. I did get into my fair share of fights. I guess more often in middle school than high school. I was kind of calm by the time I came back for high school, to my original school. I was sort of calm at that time. But in middle school, I remember this one time. Oh my God. Remember before how I said I played a lot of video games and I have a really good imagination? That leads into my fighting style, which I've called Mimic for years, because growing up, I felt like I had photographic reflexes. Like, if I saw someone do something, I could also do it. But I don't really understand grapples that well, because usually when people are grappling, you don't see in between them. Like, there's no side view when you see it in media, generally speaking. So you can't, like, see the mechanics of what's going on. So I don't really understand grapples that much. But that doesn't stop me from attempting them. There was one time we're outside at lunch, and we're playing Kill the Carrier, because that's a thing that we did during lunchtime. I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to, I'm pretty sure as kids they're not allowed to play that on the playground anymore because it makes them violent. And I was really fast. Like, back in the day when I was in shape, I was really fast. My classmates asked me to join the football team. I was like, I will get annihilated. And they were like, no, you won't, because no one will catch you. And I was like, I don't really want to take that chance. Can you imagine me in football garb trying to be intimidating? Like, no, it's not going to happen. So we're playing Kill the Carrier, and there's one kid, really don't like him. He's an asshole. Really, really don't like him. And we're playing Kill the Carrier, and every time he gets the bottle, because, you know, we're too poor to afford an actual ball at my high school, so we would play with an empty water bottle. No one can catch him because he's so dirty. He's so greasy. He was the nastiest, slimiest kid I'd ever seen in my entire life. And he was just an asshole, and just, oh, I hated him. I hated him so much. We would argue all the time. He was a grade below me, I think, at the time. I don't know what happened to him. He's probably in jail or dead. Just asshole. Just asshole. And no one could catch him because when you go to grab him, he would be like, and it would be like trying to grab Hakan from Street Fighter, because he's so oily and nasty. Just, such a gross kid. And so I was like, fine, if we can't grab him, there's got to be another way to get him. So at one point, he got the ball, well, he got the bottle. What we would do is when you got caught, you'd throw it up, and whoever caught it would then run for the opposite end of the field, which would be the touchdown. So somebody got caught. He got it this one time, and he was fucking booking it. And we had like 3 people from the actual football team like would run over and try to grab him. He'd pop right out, just and just shoot. And I was like, all right, he's got to be able to do this. So I ran really, really far ahead of him, and I made it look like I was going to grab him. And then I just moved out of the way and stuck my leg out. And he tripped and fell and just bam. And I was like, cool, I got him. I knew there was another way. There had to be. And when he got up, he was mad at this point. I mean, if you can't grab him, you got to find another way to win. So I went for the trip. And the trip worked absolutely fine. He wasn't going to slide off my leg. So when we went to do the toss-up at the end, after he'd been caught, instead of doing the toss-up, he threw the bottle at me. Now, me being not an idiot, I didn't grab the bottle. So one of my friends who was next to me in the huddle or whatever was like, "Foot," and started taking off. But he assumed I had grabbed the bottle and this was his chance. So he went in to spear me, like threw the bottle, friend grabbed it, ran that way. Most of the people dispersed except for him. He runs straight at me. I'm like, okay. He goes for the spear. Now he's small and greasy, so the spear would have been pretty okay. Now me, using my giant imagination in video game time, I'm going to assume Resident Evil 4 had come out then, and I was really enamored with German suplexes for a little while. I don't know why I thought German suplexes were so cool. So he comes in for the spear, and I think, I got this. I'm a German suplex this little kid, and it's going to be awesome. Now, you see my lanky body type. You know that I have no upper body strength. I still thought this was absolutely doable. I'm flexible, yes, but no upper body strength, lanky body. Remember, kid is greasy like Hakan has oiled up like 12 times. He's really greasy. So he goes in for the spear. I don't budge because he's way smaller than me. And, you know, at the time, I was physically fit. I was just about to start Taekwondo, but I had been studying martial arts myself. So I'm grounded. He's not going to budge me. I think, great, I'm going to go for this German suplex. I go to scoop him up. And then I go to lift. And that's when I realize, oh yeah, this kid is fucking Hakan. And he goes, slips right out of my grip as I'm bending back, as I'm extending my back, and whoop, I lose him. I'm like, shit. I turn around. He's sailing through the air. From the speed of my flip and his greasiness, just shot him through the sky. I turn around, watching him sail. He sails a couple feet, hits his head on the ground, and it's sort of muddy. So he smashes his head, and I'm like, oh shit! So he slides on his head for like a whole foot. And then he falls down. I'm like, oh shit, I killed this kid! And I run over, I'm like, oh my god, are you okay? And he's still very angry at this point. And he comes after me again. Same strategy, runs straight at me with the spear after he gets up. Oh, are you okay? And when he runs at me with the spear the second time, I'm like, really? Really? I grab him under the arms, and I just keep picking him up and slamming him on the floor, and I'm like, you ready to give up yet? Like, I'm actually asking him if he's ready to stop fighting now, as I'm slamming him into the floor over and over and over again. I'm like, you ready to give up yet? Like, we don't have to do this. Also, just give up, man. It's okay. Let it go. Let it go. Are you ready to stop? And finally, he stopped struggling, and I toss him to the side, and I'm like, okay, we good? Are we good now? And I'll never forget. At this point, by the time he had flown through, when he flew through the air, everyone stopped playing Kill the Carrier and was like, oh shit, a kid is flying, and had come back over. And when he had gotten up, they had formed a circle around us, obviously to fight. And in the center of the circle, I had been, slowly slamming him into the floor over and over and over again, telling him, it's over. Just give up. It's fine. When he finally stopped struggling, I tossed him over to the side. And I'll never forget to this day, one of the, I don't want to be too mean, but it was probably one of the funniest experiences of my life. This kid, he gets up. He's covered in fucking mud. He's crying at this point. He's covered in mud. It's especially all over his face because I threw him onto his head and he slid on his head. On his head! And he still wanted to fight. He gets up, he wipes a tear out of his eye, then he wipes the mud off of his face because he can't see because there's mud everywhere because I slammed his face into the floor a lot of times. And never forget this, he looks me right in the eye and he goes, "Yeah, I won that fight!" And I'm so taken aback by that reaction that I visibly step back. I'm like, "Excuse me?" And like the circle of people around us, they had gotten quiet when I tossed him to the side because the fight's over, it's fine. It was dead silent. Excuse me? And the entire circle erupted in laughter at once, and he never messed with me again. But now, at the worst point in my life, like when high school ended, I'm not gonna lie to any of you, I was in a really, really bad place mentally. I was trying to find a way to kill myself. I was just really upset with everything. I didn't want to go on. I was in a terrible place. And this one kid really wanted to be friends with our group. Like me, Grim, Jack Bauer, us at school. He really wanted to be part of our group. And I was having the shittiest morning. I had such a shitty night the night before. I had spent like all night fighting with my mom. I barely slept at all. I came in and I was just having a really shitty day. And I'm sitting there in the hallway. I'm curled up against the lockers in front of homeroom like this. And I'm just sitting there and Grim's next to me and he sees that it's not a good day. So he's not really saying anything. He's just there because he's a good guy. And if you're in trouble, Grim will be there to help. And he's standing there. And this is the day that Grim will never forget. Because this one kid who really wanted to be our friend, but was trying way too hard. He comes over. He doesn't say anything. He makes eye contact with me. And then he smiles. And I was like... And then, after... when I say smiles, it was like a Joker smile. Like... And I'm like... Okay. He cocks a fist and moves his arm back, and his smile widens, and I'm like... And I, like, in this moment, I stop, I pause, I look up at Grim, and Grim looks down at me, and shakes his head. Then he makes eye contact with the other kid. Well, he looks at the other kid. Kid punches me as hard as he possibly can in the shoulder. For no fucking reason. And then he starts laughing and runs away. And like, if he had started to laugh and just stood there, I would have been fine. But when he laughed and ran away, that's the moment that he fucked up. And Grim also realized that was the moment that he fucked up, because then he goes, "No!" And I leap up to my feet and I chase this kid down the hall. And he's fucking laughing his fool head off while he runs away like he's the fucking Joker. And I'm like, what? Why? I don't understand. Why would you do that to me? And he thinks he's safe because he's going to get into his classroom. So he crosses the threshold of his classroom for homeroom. And as he crosses the threshold, I reach out and I grab the hood on his he had like a raincoat. I grab the hood on it and I pull it back and I twist as I pull. So you actually hear the hood rip off of his coat. And because I'm twisting, he has to turn around. So I turn him around, I twist, I rip the hood off of his coat. And I grab him with my thumb and my pointer finger under his mandible. And I lift the kid up and I slam him into a locker. And I might have actually killed him that day if no one had intervened. And when I slammed him into the locker, it was like BAM! And it was before classes had started, so everyone was waiting in the hallway. Just everyone goes dead silent, and they're just staring at me. And I have this kid. I'm choking him. Oh, I'm so pissed. I'm just holding him up there. And I look him in the eyes, and I go, "Do you want to die?" and I've never heard such silence in like a public space before. It was absurd. Just completely quiet. Everyone's staring at him, choking. He's trying to break my grip. His legs are swinging. I'm just holding him there. And I'll never forget the sweetest TA that we had. She was just the nicest girl. She comes out of the classroom that he was going into, and she goes, um, um, can you please put him down? And like I was cool with that TA. She was a really nice girl. And I feel like if anyone else had come out of the classroom and been like, can you please put him down? I would have just choked him harder. But because it was her, and I could see she was also scared and shaken up, I just let him go. And I remember him just coughing for like 5 minutes before he went into the classroom. And then everything in the hallway resumed. And for the rest of the day, now you would think that having happened, we'd need to like decompress and what have you. But I had homeroom and first period with Grim that day, and I sit next to him. So I'm sitting there, I come into the classroom, and I sit down, and I'm thinking he's going to be like, oh, you really shouldn't have done that in public, what have you. And I like put my head down, and he goes, Scott, you held him up, and you asked him if he wanted to die. That was so gangsta! And for the rest of the day, he followed me around going, that was so gangsta! And like I can't stress enough how strange that is for me, the tiny white boy, to have someone following them around all day going, that was so gangsta!
Hey there, guys and gals. I hope you're enjoying Season 2 of On Fairy Tales, The School Years. As always, you can click the link on the left to see the previous episode, or you can click the link on the right to see the playlist where you can see all the episodes so far. I've got a question for all you guys and gals out there. Do you have a whole bunch of friends with the same name? How do you differentiate them?